Today this video will be on congruent triangles. So our learning goals for today, by the end of the lesson you'll be able to use a congruence test to decide if two shapes are congruent, and you'll also be able to construct unique triangles from given information. Okay, so some key ideas here. So two triangles are congruent if one of the four sets of conditions are satisfied. So the first is SSS. So S stands for side. So if they have three equal corresponding sides, they will be congruent. So an example here, so in our first pair of triangles there, you can see that these lines show that they have one set of corresponding sides, a second set, and then a third set. So they've got three equal corresponding sides, which means these two triangles are congruent. And remember, congruent means they're the same shape and the same size. They can just be reflected, rotated, or moved. Okay, our second test is SAS test, so side, angle, side. So this means that a triangle has two equal corresponding sides and one equal corresponding angle that has to be in between those sides. So if we look at our second pair here, this is their first corresponding side, this is their second, and you can see in the middle they have an equal angle shown by that corresponding dot there, and the angle has to be in between the two sides for them to satisfy this rule, and that angle there is called the included angle. So that's our second test, the SAS, side, angle, side test. Our third is the AAS test, which is angle, angle, side. So this means a pair of triangles will have two corresponding angles and one equal corresponding side. So looking at this one, we can see here we've got one angle and its corresponding angle, our second angle and its corresponding angle, and we also have the corresponding side there. Now, unlike the side, angle, side rule, it doesn't have to be in that exact order, so it doesn't always have to be angle, angle, side. It can be in any order, so it could be angle, side, angle, or side, angle, angle, so it doesn't really matter as long as it satisfies that rule. The last one here is the RHS, which stands for right angle, hypotenuse, side. So this means two right-angled triangles that have an equal corresponding hypotenuse and one other equal corresponding side, they will also be congruent. So you can see here our triangles both have right angles, their hypotenuse are also equal, and they also both have another equal corresponding side. So they would satisfy that RHS rule for that one there. So if a triangle is congruent to another triangle, we can write a congruent statement. So for instance, if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, we would write a congruent statement like this. So triangle ABC is congruent using our symbol, which is like an equal sign with an extra line as well, to triangle DEF. And when we write these congruent statements, we try to match up the matching side. So A should hopefully correspond to D, B to E, and F to C. That's usually the conventional way of doing it. So a unique triangle is one where any triangles matching the description are congruent to each other. Okay, so for the first one here, for our work examples here, we have to decide which of the tests, so SSS, SAS, AAS, or RHS, would you choose to test the congruence of these pairs of triangles. So for A, they both have an angle of 70 degrees, they both have an angle of 60 degrees, and they both have a side of 5 centimeters. So in this instance, they have AAS. So we've got this test here because they satisfy that. They've got two corresponding angles and one corresponding side. So for B, if we're looking at that, both of these triangles are right angle triangles. So our hypotenuse, which is this side here, they both have corresponding hypotenuse, they're both 15 meters long, and then they also have another corresponding side which is 12 meters. So they they fulfill the RHS test there for congruence. So that's the test we would use for those two triangles. So it's just a matter of looking at the triangles, looking at what information you're giving, and seeing which rule it fulfills. And that's all we have for today's video. A very short one today. Make sure you practice these, because the more you practice them, the better you'll know the tests.